Rev up your engines! All right, here we have a Harvard-educated Ford Ranger with the Reading bed on it. Believe it or not, 3 of these were made for Harvard University. Not making it up. There's a registrar from Harvard University that had 3 of these built for the university to use. It's got the beautiful Reading work back on it. All kinds of work rooms. Everything slides down. He does woodworking. He can get all of his tools in it. It was obviously taken very good care of because even though this is a 2005, it only had 35,000 miles on it when he bought it for about 8,600 bucks. So he got a pretty good deal out of this truck. It's got the classic Ford V6. It's a 3-liter V6. These things can run a long time. Now, of course, it lived at Harvard, so you're going to see a lot of corrosion on the metal. That doesn't mean anything by itself. We'll start it up. Starts right up, runs like a dream. No shaking. And even though it's a Ford, the air conditioning still works. Even the exhaust is still in pretty good shape. Everything's still pretty solid. Surface rust, yeah, but it's just surface rust. It's solid underneath. You're gonna get superficial rust going down there around the wells. That's just how things are when you keep them up north. But the Reading back is really nice. I mean, it is really well made. Your tools in there. It's really good for handyman. Now, one of the reasons this guy bought this is because he doesn't trust mechanics. That's why I got in the business. He fixes it himself, and as you can see, an older vehicle like this is much simpler. It doesn't have all the complexity of a truly modern one. If you want to learn a little bit about fixing cars, you're not going to get ripped off. You can buy an older vehicle and take care of it. Consider this thing came with 30-something thousand miles on it. It's got a lot of life left on it. I've seen these engines at 200 and they're still going strong. Everything on this truck still works perfectly fine. And after all, it's a Harvard-educated truck. It's smarter than a normal truck. Now, this is something that I tell people all the time. If you can find any kind of company vehicle, they don't generally drive them that far. Hey, it was at Harvard. How far did they drive around the campus, you know? 15 years, they put 34,000 miles on a vehicle. There's a lot of life left in these cars. When you really think about it, this thing isn't all rusted out. Normally a Ford this age from Massachusetts would be a rust bucket, but it's not going on the highways all the time with all the salt. It's just staying around the campus. If you can find a business that's upgrading their vehicles, there's nothing wrong with buying their older one. Because realize, you want to get a nice Reading cap with all the toolboxes, you can pay as much as $13,899 for one. He bought the whole truck with only 35,000 miles for $8,500. So, let's just say, the guy got a deal. Now, as I said, this was made for Harvard University, and Fords don't normally come with these things. That was added on. When somebody customizes something, they generally pay a lot of money. You never see it back. This guy loves doing carpentry and fixing his own truck. You can't beat this deal. Somebody else paid for it, in this case Harvard University, and they have plenty of money, and he reaped the benefits of buying it when they were done with it. Rangers are good pickup trucks. Of course, you're going to pay a ton more if you're going to get a Toyota Tacoma or something like that, but they're pretty much set up about the same. And the V6 has plenty of power for pulling all his tools, anything he wants to pull with. You don't need a V8 for that. Now, if it was a 4-cylinder, yeah, it'd be a little bit underpowered. So if you're looking at one of these, you want to get the V6 because you're going to get more power, a longer lifespan. It's going to get a little bit better gas mileage than the V8 will, but you don't buy these for gas mileage. You buy these because you want something that's going to be able to do your job, get you where you're going. And even though this is an old vehicle, being a 2005, it was a fantastic deal for a guy who wants to do carpentry, fix cars, and have still something that's reliable. Even though it's old with that small amount of miles, believe me, these things are reliable. Well, like I say, you see the corrosion. That means those parts are all old, which means they're still working, even though they're the original ones. It's a Ford. All these parts are readily available. Alternator goes bad, starter goes bad. You can go to any auto parts store. Odds are they'll have it in stock. You can pop it on and away you go. It's not like you're getting some kind of oddball vehicle that, oh gee, where am I going to get parts? How am I going to fix this thing? They're easy to fix. The parts are readily and cheaply enough available too. They're not that expensive parts. The only real downside of these are you gotta check to see if frame is rusted and corroded. If you see that body's all rusted and flaking through, you don't buy one of these things. because it will be destroyed. Let's say if this truck came from Buffalo, New York, and somebody used it every day, summer and winter, it'd be ready for the junkyard. It would be just falling off the body. So that's something you really got to look at if you're going to buy one of these things used. But if you can find a highly educated one like this Ranger from Harvard University, hey, jump on it. And he gets 19 miles a gallon when he's driving around on the highway with all this weight. That isn't bad. Of course, like I always say, don't just think miles per gallon. Think miles per dollar. Let's say you buy a brand new truck with a diesel engine that gets 29 miles a gallon. Well, $40,000, $50,000 buys an awful lot of gasoline. That's all I gotta say. So if you thought Ford pickup trucks were dumb, now you know. This particular one is a Harvard-educated pickup. Guy got a great deal on it. He'll probably be driving it for years to come, doing carpentry work, fixing cars. Don't have to buy something new to get reliability. And here's some bonus questions and answers. 2034 says, 2015 Mitsubishi Lancer, the transmission jerks when I brake. They said the fluid's black and they won't change it. It only has 89,000 miles. Should I replace the transmission fluid anyway? Well, you're kind of between a rock and a hard place. Mitsubishi, the reason I tell people not to buy them is their transmissions are not that great, especially their automatics. They've had nothing but histories of problems for decades with their automated transmissions. You only got 89,000 miles on it. I'm surprised the fluid's black. That really shows bad wear. It shouldn't be black with that small amount of mileage, but it is. Well, you check it yourself too, just to make sure. I don't blame them saying they won't change it, because if they change it, it might not shift at all. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. It goes by pressure differential shifting, which is friction. Dirty fluid black has more friction. If you put in fresh fluid and a filter, it might not shift at all. It might start slipping like mad. Now you say it's jerking. What I would do if I were you, if you want to try, would I take 1 quart of fluid out, put 1 quart of Lucas transmission fix anti-slip in it, leave it at that, and pray that it lasts. Because odds are, you're going to have to get that thing rebuilt at some point in time. Now might be a good time to get rid of the vehicle. If the transmission is going out, do you want to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 having a good one put in, or having a guy try to rebuild it, realize, I know something like 1/3 of the rebuild jobs do not work the first time, and you got them done over, and you got to deal with all that crap. I mean, if it goes good enough, it might be a good time to sell the thing. People are giving big money for cars, it's low mileage, and get something more reliable, like a Toyota or Honda, and get rid of that. All Japanese cars aren't equal. People say, oh, it's a Japanese car, it's good. No, some of them aren't that good, like Mitsubishis. They burn oil. A lot of the Korean cars, they got problems burning oil. They're not as well made as the good Japanese cars like Toyota and Honda. One size does not fit all. Car enthusiast says, what do I do with my oil change waste? I did my first oil change on my Prius. I use paper towels to clean up. Can I throw them away in the trash? Because the towels are all soaked with oil. Do I have to dispose of them another way? Well, you know, technically you're not supposed to throw oil waste in the garbage can. The problem is, who's going to take the stuff? Your oil, you can take it to auto parts store, and they'll take your used oil. And a lot of them now will take your used oil filters. You might check your local recycling area. They might have a place that takes oil waste products. Like if they take oil filters, maybe they'll take the rags that are soaked with oil too. You know, they're going to go to a landfill. You don't want oil in a landfill. I know guys in the country, they'll just burn them. They'll use them when they're having fires. Just help start a fire, and they'll use them and burn them in a fire. But yeah, you really shouldn't throw them away in a regular garbage, because it's oil, and they're going to throw it in a landfill, and then the oil will leach out. So you see if you can find a place that takes that, you know, throw it in a garbage where it'll be leached into the ground. Guys up north here with garages, they have oil burning furnaces in their garages. They use the waste oil to heat up their place. And they have good furnaces that work quite well these days, and they burn the stuff up like that. You might find a guy in your neighborhood and say, yeah, I'll use that for helping with my stuff. Give me them. You never know. Somebody might want them. Like I say, out in the country, the guys would keep them in barrels, and they'd use them for burning up brush and stuff, start the fires. Pete says, I got a 2000 Toyota Tundra. The towing capacity is rated for 5,000 pounds. Has anyone towed it? And it's capable for towing? Thanks. All those towing recommendations are very conservative figures. They're very conservative figures. So I've had customers with those things. Some of them towed 8,000 pounds. Now, they weren't going 80 miles an hour. They were driving around 40, 45 miles an hour on country roads and stuff, and they had no problems at all. Customer with the Toyota Tundra had the V8, and he towed over 20,000 pounds of plate steel with his, and he was going slow, but it still pulled it. So that's a conservative rating, you know. They're good enough for towing, you know. The V8, of course, is a lot better for towing, but there's enough power in that V6 to get you to tow 5,000 pounds easily. It's not a problem. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.